What's good? It's Woog. Singer, songwriter, and producer Caroline Polachek is releasing her new album, Desire I Want to Turn Into You. This is also her follow-up to 2019's fantastic and underrated album, Pang. And speaking of underrated, I feel like for as good as Caroline Polachek is, how talented she is, and how consistent her body of work has been, I feel like she is actually a very underrated artist. Now, Caroline Polachek might mostly be known as being former vocalist and one of the three members of the indie band Chairlift. Chairlift, they kind of broke big around 2008. They had a somewhat viral before viral song called Bruises. Bruises showed up like on an iPod Nano commercial in 2008. So that album, Does You Inspire You? It was a pretty good album, and they were kind of seen as being one of the emerging indie bands around the time some of the similarly sounding and somewhat folky indie acts such as Feist or Damian Rice or Ingrid Michaelson, Colby Calais, and Corinne Bailey Rae, some of those artists were kind of breaking big at that same time. So you had Feist with that 1, 2, 3, 4 song that would feature in commercials. What was that Ingrid Michaelson song that was featuring in some of the televised media as well? That was The Way I Am. That was the, 'Cause I love the way you call me. You remember that one? Well, Chairlift was kind of on the heels of that with the song Bruises. So after that, they released a 2012 album called Something. I see this as being the best Chairlift album. They would have one more album in 2016 before breaking up. But in 2012, that album, Something, I mean, the first 5 songs on that album are fantastic. I mean, listen to some of the melody lines. I mean, very indie synth, almost new wave type melody lines in the opener, Sidewalk Safari. And the best song of the album might be the 4th song. It was Take It Out on Me. That's one of those songs that you could hear like in restaurants at the time or cafes. One of those kind of cool songs that you could play in a venue. But yeah, I remember that 2012 album, Something, as being one of my favorite albums, dropping it around that time. So that's the band that Caroline Polachek comes from. And she's also recorded an album under a different name, Ramona Lisa. She had an album called Arcadia in 2014. And as a producer, singer-songwriter, she also produced as CEP in 2017, dropped a project then as well. That one floated a little more under the radar. But when she came out with the album Pang, I swear, this was just before the COVID pandemic. This was like in October of 2019. So I feel like there's pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, but in 2020, when everybody was hunkered down and quarantining and such, there were a few albums that dropped right around that same time. So Pang dropped right around the same time that Wise Blood dropped Titanic Rising. And between those 2 albums and an album by Men I Trust, very good kind of jazzy, jazz pop indie band, Marika Hackman, Aldous Harding, like these were all very good kind of folky / indie artists that were dropping at around that same time. And I am not lying when I say that Caroline Polachek's Pang was just as good, if not better, than all of those albums I just mentioned. And I love that Men I Trust album called Uncle Jazz. And I mean, come on, Wise Blood's Titanic Rising. Look, Pang, when it comes to that Baroque pop, chamber pop, almost dream popish style, I mean, it's no coincidence that Caroline Polachek is sounding how she sounds with that kind of angelic voice. And her parents, you know, had divorced like when she was, you know, coming up as a kid. And to calm her down, both parents would play Enya music to kind of chill her out. And her vocal stylings, both when she was a member of Chairlift and on her solo material, she does channel some Enya. And she is about as good as it gets right now in that Baroque pop, chamber pop realm. And when it comes to music composition, just getting the melodies together, the songwriting, I mean, she is a heavy hitter. It just so happens she also just happens to have a remarkable voice. Because, I mean, let's be honest, with a lot of indie music, you might get some excellent production. You often get excellent like guitar, jangly chords and riffs. You could get some very attractive earworms. But rarely do you also couple the instrumentation, and you know, there are a lot of strings involved in Caroline Polachek's instrumentation, like Wise Blood, but rarely do you get somebody who's got a special voice as well as having the chops production-wise, singer-songwriter-wise, and instrumentally. Yes, Caroline Polachek is kind of the total package when it comes to that. So it's actually kind of interesting that she has been floating so far under the radar. Give that album Pang a listen, because look, I mean, you have other artists who have more acclaim in that sphere right now. Phoebe Bridgers is kind of the new it girl, especially after that album Punisher, right? And then you've got, as I mentioned, Wise Blood, you've got Angel Olsen, Courtney Barnett, Saint Vincent, Lana Del Rey, this new artist, Girl in Red, you've got Japanese Breakfast, you've got Sharon Van Etten, Mitski, I could go on. But Caroline Polachek is a force to be reckoned with and is not to be taken lightly. Look, that song Pang, it's one of those where, you know, it starts off with the first 3 songs. You're like, damn, this is really good. But you aren't aware that it's about to kick into an even higher gear as you get into the middle and towards the end of the album. Like the middle and end of Caroline Polachek's Pang is better than the first 3 to 4 songs on it. And it was kind of unfortunate, like last year, she missed a huge opportunity because she was slated to be one of the opening acts for Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia tour. And when stepping off of a tour bus, Caroline Polachek sprained her ankle badly. She like tore her ankle and had to withdraw from the tour. So think about the missed opportunity. She was about to get all the exposure for the people coming out to see Dua Lipa, and she had to pull out of that. So she's releasing this new album on the heels of that disappointment. So we'll see if she's able to kind of gain the traction that, in my opinion, her music clearly merits. And even other parts of her musical resume, she wrote on Beyonce's self-titled Beyonce album. That was like in 2013. The song was No Angel. So yeah, Caroline Polachek has songwriter credits as a co-writer and production credits as a producer on that song. She's also produced a song for Travis Scott on the Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight album. She's worked with Blood Orange, she's worked with Solange. So yeah, she is a very well-respected name in the game, but now it looks like she's gonna have an opportunity, perhaps, if things go well with this album rollout, its critical reception, the subsequent tour. I really think that this might be the year for Caroline Polachek. Again, I was surprised when I was listening to Pang through 2020. I was like, damn, this is like the pandemic too. So it's almost like she's had back-to-back disappointments because she couldn't fully tour the album Pang because we were in the COVID pandemic, and then 2 years later she tears her ankle just as she's embarking on this tour with Dua Lipa. So yeah, I have high expectations on this new Caroline Polachek album. I encourage everybody to listen to the album Pang. If you're into any of that Baroque pop, dream pop, chamber pop style of indie, I really think that you would like Caroline Polachek. And again, what to me is one of the things that separates her, along with just, you know, one great melody after another, song after song, what separates her is that she actually has a special voice. Because when we look at a lot of the indie artists, as I was mentioned, they are some very good artists, Soccer Mommy as well. You've got some very good artists who have some excellent music, excellent albums. Like I love Soccer Mommy's albums. But if you're talking just voice and vocal quality, a lot of these indie singers, if they were on American Idol, like auditioning, they wouldn't make it to Hollywood, right? Caroline Polachek, no, she is like the real deal vocally and has all of these musical talents and these creative talents as well. So yeah, she's kind of one of those unicorns in a sense. But let me know if you're already up on Caroline Polachek's music, if you were a fan of the band Chairlift, and what your expectations are of this new album, and also what your thoughts were if you did hear the album Pang. Please let me know your thoughts. Also, what are some of the kind of indie albums that are about to drop that you're really looking forward to? Because this is one of the albums that I've been looking forward to the most, like especially after that album Pang. I just really wanted to hear her follow-up. It's just kind of interesting that she's releasing this one on a Tuesday. Usually Friday is the day that artists release new music, but with this being the streaming era, I don't think it matters as much. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.